Hello, everyone, and welcome on in to the 29th episode of Cleveland Sports Realm. We're all in our usual spots. I'm here, Kevin's there, and Derek's over there. And you can't see him, but we can, as I always tell you. So,
and if you're listening, you can't see any of us.
Yeah, that's true. Unless you're only the YouTube crowd. That's for you when I do that. Yeah. That's a special shout out to our YouTube audience. So, all right, well, Kevin, we are here on a disgustingly dreary Wednesday evening.
It's an eerie night.
Yeah, it is. It's like a fall, like October, November type of evening that we're dealing with here. And we're in May.
Yeah,
Where's our nice weather?
I like the temperature outside, I will say. It's perfect hoodie and sweatpants weather. I love it.
I could use it being a little warmer. I could definitely use it being a little warmer. But nonetheless, it is May. And this is Wednesday evening. We're recording as usual, as the schedule does call for, and with a Thursday release date. So should be pretty up to date on everything that's going on for you guys tomorrow when this becomes available to you.
Yes.
So where would you like to start this evening, Kevin?
I'm not sure. Honestly, I'm not sure. There's not really much Cavs to go over right now. We've got some Brown stuff, kind of a lot of stuff going on with the Tribe right now.
Yeah. So I'd say let's put a bow on the Cavs thing.
Yeah.
So Kobe Altman had his season-ending news conference, and really it's kind of exactly what we expected. They're not going to do anything. They're not going to be able to do anything. I guess in the Cavaliers' kitchen they need to have a different number of aprons in the pantry that they don't have.
Oh man.
So that's what's going on with them. So they're in the second, and they need to only be in the first. Only have one apron available for cooking.
I forget exactly. Like we were saying last week, it's so complicated when it comes to the NBA.
Once again, you need a college degree in NBA salary cap to understand.
But essentially, Kobe Altman, what he said was, we've got a young core that we feel very confident in, and we think another year of development is going to do great things for them. And it's basically exactly what we walked through a couple different hypothetical scenarios last week, but at the same time, we came to the conclusion, as I'm sure most of the fan base has, that the Cleveland Cavaliers are going to be running it back for the 2025-2026 season.
And by the way, I don't want to call us trendsetters, but I heard
I'll call us that.
The Giannis for Evan Mobley thing everywhere. Sports radio, national, local, different podcasts. The Evan Mobley for Giannis conversation. And I just want to say, I'm just going to put it out there to our listeners. We were one of the first people that I heard have that conversation.
We were one of the first on the beat.
And it went everywhere. So
because I know when we saw things going on X with the different, would you trade these so and so young players? It was always a package of a couple players, and I believe like I said, I don't know if we were the first ones to do it, but I know we're definitely one of the first few to at least bring up, for 1 year, would Giannis or Mobley be better for this team? So that was a fun debate that we had last week. I'm glad we had it. We had differing opinions of it, which makes this show so fun.
Yes.
And it's going to be interesting to see what another year of development does do for Evan Mobley, and I'm hoping that he does have that Giannis jump. We saw a good jump from him this past year. We went over the ins and outs of that last week with a 3-point jump shot coming through, the ball handling. Well, it's still not where I would at least like it to be. It has gotten slightly better, and we're hoping for a more significant jump and one that actually brings this team over the top for next season.
Yeah, absolutely.
For what should be a depleted East, not to interrupt you, but with the injuries that are going on in Boston right now, and obviously we still have to out-tough the New York Knicks and the Pacers, who we've lost to two out of the last 3 years, and that's who's being represented in the Eastern Conference Finals, as Game 1's getting ready to tip off tonight. Unfortunately, won't have that reaction for you when this airs.
Yeah, that'll be at Madison Square Garden this evening. But to put one last touch on the Cavs, do you think, what do you expect? Let's touch on the things that they can do. Do you think Ty Jerome's going to be back?
I think there's a possibility, but I don't think it's likely. I'd probably give it like a 10 to 20% chance.
I was going to say 25. Yeah, I'm right around there. I think there's some other little odds and ends moves they do, but I don't see like the big move they literally cannot do with the apron level or whatever.
Yeah, and I don't know how highly of a priority Ty Jerome's actually going to be for this team, because I do think with them extending Porter, I don't think it was last year, it might have been 2 years ago, but they gave him like a 4-year smaller extension money
Guaranteed
wise.
deal, yeah.
Yeah, but they made sure to lock him up, and that they had a young point guard that can handle the ball and play some good defense, and I think that might be what their game plan is for backup point guard next year.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I don't hate it.
And I think it's the one last thing I'd like to say on the Cavs before we move on here is I think it's hilarious that sports shows in Boston and Cleveland and podcasts and talk radio and all that spent the entire year talking about a Cavs-Celtics Eastern Conference Finals. And it tips off tonight, and neither team is anywhere to be found.
Yeah, no, when we started talking at the beginning of the playoffs, we had said we didn't want to look past Indiana, but it just seems like that Boston-Cleveland matchup's inevitable. And yeah, no matter who you asked for, it could have been in New York, Boston, it could have been, in West Virginia, someone who doesn't even have an NBA team. They would have said, yeah, it's probably going to be Cavs Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals. It seemed like the world's worst kept secret, and it was, because it didn't happen.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, let's talk about those conference finals briefly. Oklahoma City and Minnesota last night. Oklahoma City took a commanding 1-0 lead. Do you expect the Thunder to win this series and represent the West in the finals?
I'm actually going to have the Timberwolves winning that series in 7.
Okay.
I really want to see Ant represented in the finals. Obviously, OKC's had a great run, great regular season, and they've backed it up in the playoffs as well.
Shea did win MVP according to Shams today.
Did see that. Yeah, I saw Shea won MVP. While I disagree with it, he's undoubtedly been a top 2 player in the league this year. It was between him or Jokic. But yeah, I want to see Anthony Edwards represented in the finals. I think for some reason, I just feel like he has more of that it factor than SGA. I feel like when the ball's in Anthony Edwards' hands, I feel more confident than when it's in SGA's hands, which sounds wrong coming out of my mouth just based off of SGA winning MVP, but that's just kind of where my gut lays.
I have to disagree with you on that, but keep going.
Yeah, I like that Timberwolves team. Randall at the 4, Gobert at the 5, great team. Jaden McDaniels is one of the best.
Julius Randle has been the best Timberwolf these playoffs so far for them.
Yeah, he's been good.
He's been excellent.
Yeah, he's been very good.
I think Oklahoma City does win that series, though. I'm going to give that to them in 6.
Okay. So you think the Thunder win on the Timberwolves floor, and I think the Timberwolves win on the Thunder's floor.
Interesting, yeah.
Interesting.
All right, let's go to the East. This is a storied rivalry that goes all the way back to late 90s, early 2000s. Pacers and Knicks in the conference finals. Yes, that's exactly right. If you're watching us on video again, you see what Kevin just did. This goes all the way back to Reggie and Jeff Van Gundy and those 90s teams, 90s Knicks teams in early 2000s. Kevin, who do you have winning the storied rivalry between Indiana and New York?
I've actually got Knicks in 6. I feel confident with that. I've got the Knicks beating the Pacers in 6 games and winning on Indiana's floor. So I've got an away team winning each series, or with winning the final game, I should say.
I'm going to go Knicks in 7 at the Garden, getting it done and going back to the finals for the first time in a quarter century.
Okay. I'm looking forward to this series a lot, actually.
I think it'll be very intriguing.
Yeah.
They had a hell of a series in the semis last year, if you recall, that the Knicks literally ran out of bodies in.
Yep.
Other than that's how the Pacers kind of ended up winning. I mean, credit to them, they did win.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the Knicks literally did run out of humans to put out there.
And I think just the Knicks stay healthy this year, and Indiana's forced to face the first healthy team they faced all postseason, and the Knicks get the best of them.
Yeah, I agree. I like the Knicks in that series. So, we'll still keep you updated on the NBA a little bit here.
How about this? How about your Knicks Thunder NBA Finals that you're predicting? What would you feel about that?
I'd probably give it to the Knicks if that did hypothetically play out, but I don't want to go that far yet because, look what happened with the rest of these playoffs. We haven't been right on just about anything. Yeah,
really anything. I mean, if I'm thinking Timberwolves, Knicks, I think that's a tough one. I think that'd be a fun one too because they made that huge trade this offseason.
Yeah, the Towns and
Randall, DiVincenzo,
all those elements would be. It'd
be exciting.
The media would salivate at a series like that.
And I think I might give the Knicks the edge in that series.
Yeah, something.
No, I'd go T-Wolves. T-Wolves over Knicks if it happens.
The Knicks just seem like the way Brunson's playing right now is unbelievable.
Something about the postseason, man. When it starts, he just turns into a completely different beast. This is 3 years in a row.
Yeah, I mean he plays a hell of a year in the regular season, but you're right. He raises his game to a level absolutely absurd in the postseason. I think the one thing for the Knicks in this series is they need a little bit more out of Karl Anthony Towns. Like, I don't think he's been all that great so far this postseason. They need a little bit more out of him if they're going to move on and beat Indiana. Bridges, for as much flack as he took early in the year, has been excellent in the postseason, I think.
Yeah, I think Bridges has played very well. And I do agree with you on that point from Randall. I need to see him being more physical.
Towns, you mean?
Or,
Yeah,
I'm sorry. Yeah, Towns. I do agree with that point about Towns, though.
Yeah, I mean, he just seems to just be kind of out there at times. And, I mean, look, they'll do what they need. Even though the problem that the Knicks are going to face is against Miles Turner, Mitchell Robinson's going to give you so much more defensively.
100%.
But if it's not an alley-oop or a putback, I mean, he's useless on the offensive end versus Towns can spread the floor on the offensive end, but he's not great defensively.
No, he's actually pretty bad defensively.
So that'll be an interesting thing to monitor how Tom Thibodeau handles all that in this series.
Yeah, but luckily for the Knicks, their 2 through 4 are great defenders. You know, Bridges, Anunoby, and Hart.
Yes.
So
Josh Hart's like 6'5" and rebounds like he's 7'5".
Yeah, he's amazing. He's amazing. It's one of the better. It's one of the best deadline deals like ever, in my opinion.
I remember the night that they traded for him. I looked at you. This was years before we recorded the thing, and the CSR here. And I said to you, man, that's the guy the Cavs needed. And I was like, man, and a first round pick, I would have given that up to get Josh Hart. And I mean, boy, that trade has worked out magnificently for the Knicks.
Yeah, but at the time, I don't think we had any first rounds to give because of the Mitchell trade.
Yeah, man. Yeah, you might be right. I don't know what we had to give. Who knows what apron we were how many kitchens?
Who knows what apron we had?
How many
on?
aprons in the kitchen we were working with back then? Who knows? I do know the reason the Knicks were able to make the Towns trade is supposedly that Brunson took way under what he could have, and that was so that they could go surround him with even more talent. And that was that kind of thankless act there from Jalen Brunson has really panned out well for the Knicks.
It absolutely has. For sure has. And I think it's a huge reason as to why they're at where they're at right now.
Yeah.
And this is a team, the New York Knicks, who were 0-10 against the Cavs, Celtics, and the Thunder, the 3 quote-unquote best teams in the entire NBA.
It shows you what we've been saying here about the Cavs for a while, man. The postseason is a different season in the NBA, more than almost any other sport. Like the sense.
Yeah, it's why I could never confidently pick them to go to the finals, because we've seen teams have these amazing seasons and come up short in the playoffs, and unfortunately the Cavs fell into that bucket there.
Yeah, me and all my hot hair over here, I was spewing into the mic about them winning the championship for months.
We like optimism though at the same time.
Yeah, I like optimism, but it wasn't even me being a blind optimist. I really felt that about that team, and I was just wrong.
Well, there were a lot of people nationally. I mean, Charles Barkley said he felt like the Cavs are going to the finals.
Yeah, I mean, Chuck and Shaq they're some of the most straight shooters on TV. And when they both sit there and beat the desk for the Cavaliers every night, then you start really thinking, wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
There's something here. But they joined the long list of us being wrong. So, all right, let's move on. The Cleveland Browns are finally going to have a home to play football in, it looks like. It's not official yet. The shovel hasn't gone into the ground. But Mayor Justin Bibb, in a sense, with the interview exclusively with Fox 8 yesterday and the I-Team, kind of giving his blessing. And the only guy who seems to be holding this deal up right now, and a man on an island by himself, is County Commissioner Chris Ronayne. But it looks like the Browns have the governor's blessing, the mayor of Cleveland's blessing. They for sure have the mayor of Brook Park's blessing, who's wanted this whole thing, obviously, to happen. But it looks like the Browns are all going to be able to move forward here soon with their plan that they've had in place for quite a while.
Yeah, sounds like they're going to be in Brook Park, huh?
Yeah.
What's your take on it, buddy?
Well,
are you happy with it?
I'm gonna give you the quote from the mayor.
All right.
And I have it here because I didn't want to misquote Mayor Justin Bibb. He said, quote, "There are more important priorities than the Cleveland Browns. We got to move on. If they go to Brook Park, God bless them. Good luck. But by hell or high water, we're going to develop a lakefront our residents can be proud of." So what I think this boils down to, from me following this, is Justin Bibb he's been okay if the Browns leave. Like, I think the county commissioner, Chris Ronayne, truly is upset that they're leaving downtown and all the income. And we've talked about that go listen to old podcasts. We talked about, yeah, it is going to hurt downtown's economy. There's no doubt about it. But if you develop a nice lakefront down there, that can offset some of that money you're going to be losing by having Browns games down there. And I think with this whole time, I was worried, and I even said it on the podcast, and you talked me off the ledge. I was worried in the danger of the Browns. Okay, if they don't get what they want from these officials here, maybe they'll just try to leave the team altogether in Cleveland. But I think, obviously it's one of the most storied things would happen in '95. I just don't think that any owner would be willing to do that again. But it was getting to a point of frustration where I think the Haslams were very, very frustrated. They didn't want to go to their plan B, because also what I think happened ultimately is the mayor came to the realization, hey, if the Browns stay down here, look, the city of Cleveland's struggling economically right now. Make no mistake. There's no secret about that. I'm not breaking news to anybody here by saying that. And if you keep the Browns in that stadium's already starting to fall apart. And Justin Bibb's thinking, wow, if we look how much more money we're going to be on the hook for as a city if that stays down here, because contractually they were obligated to pay a lot of maintenance costs and stuff. So if you let the Browns go, you're hurting financially. That's a big expense you're letting walk out the door, as much as it does bring you a lot of money downtown.
Yeah, I guess. Like I said, I never really thought there was any question that the team was ever going to leave.
Like the general Northeast
like
Ohio.
the actual Northeast Ohio.
Well, the Modell law technically blocks them from doing that. The problem was when you get these lawyers and these people who are much smarter than you or I are on this stuff, the Modell law was written so vague. It was tough to see or to really
what the actual vision was at the time,
to interpret it truly what that law meant. And all that I think is going to be dropped here as the mayor. Ultimately, I think what the mayor was looking for was, okay, if you give us a little bit of money to help to demolish the current stadium, then we'll let you go. Which the Browns, by doing that, would be throwing the city of Cleveland a bone, because contractually that stadium is not owned by the Browns.
Right.
So the Browns don't have to do that. But I think the Haslams have so much money. So if it helps them get their multi-billion-dollar playpen out there in Brook Park,
then by all means
help the city destroy the current stadium. And I think with the mayor going on local TV station, obviously with like the number one private investigator in the city, and Ed Gallick, doing that exclusive interview, by him doing that was basically him waving his white flag and saying, if you want to go, go.
Oh, I agree. I 100% agree with you.
If you want to go, go. That's fine. Now, do the Browns still have a few more hurdles to leap over? Of course they do, because anytime you build these stadiums, it does. And I think where the county commissioner is upset is it's going to raise taxes for the people and all that. But look, we're getting taxed every other which way. So if you're going to if it's going to help keep the Browns in Northeast Ohio, I think everybody would be willing to pay a little bit more tax.
Yeah, I guess. Are you excited about the actual stadium itself coming to life? Because it should be here in 5-6 years. What's the actual time frame on it?
So now it's looking like that they would open out there in either 2029 or 2030.
Okay.
So you're talking
that fast, huh?
4 or 5 years. They got to get a shovel in the ground quickly. Now the mayor's kind of giving you his blessing. You got your blessing from the big boss of the state, Mike DeWine. He's giving you his okay on it, and you got your state money approved. So you're starting to line up all your ducks in a row, but it's time to start, digging dirt over there, basically. And my overall feeling on it is, yeah, it's going to be sad to see the Browns leave the lakefront, but if it's going to help them stay in Cleveland overall, and this is what the Haslams want to do, ultimately it looks like nobody's going to stop.
I guess that's where my standpoint is too. I love the stadium being on the lake. I love that there's not a dome, because we get the games like we did against the Steelers last year with the snow globe games, and those games are just so fun to watch, and they can be fun to be at too, in the right environment and the right atmosphere. So I'm disappointed that we're probably, in 4 or 5 years, whenever the stadium actually gets completed and we see that first Browns game happen, I'm disappointed that we're not going to see any more games like that.
What I do worry about is, obviously, this is going to be a project funded a lot by the Haslams. Like, they're putting up a lot of money for it. And I worry if it's going to – the only thing I worry is the Browns going to now become like, a Dallas Cowboys stadium or any of these, or SoFi Stadium, where the heart of the dog pound, the heartbeat, those blue collar, tough as nails fans who are out there, who spend all their extra, accessible income, are they still going to have the money to go to this new place? Because make no mistake about it, they're going to raise the absolute crap out of ticket prices.
Oh, absolutely they are.
I mean, it's and parking there, it's going to be,
I mean, they're building like their own community there, basically,
right. They're
correct?
building their own complex. That's the plan that I've seen.
Not even just complex, like an actual
sure, yeah. You're gonna have hotel and the parking out there. The new lot that they'll be there will replicate the Muni lot out of there. Well, it's not. I mean, the Muni lot's getting expensive. The Muni lot's $70 by the end of last season. So you're probably looking at probably, who knows, by that time with inflation, probably $120 to park one car out there. I mean, the other thing that
$120 to park a car.
I mean, the Muni lot right now is $70 at the end of last year to park a car. So figure in 5 years by inflation, and the Haslams are going to want some of that money back that they spent, and that's where I say that's my biggest concern with the whole project. Are the average casual, true Browns fan still going to be able to afford to go to this place?
And middle class, yeah.
And that's somewhere it's going to remain to be seen because, I mean, listen, as a season ticket holder, I know.
Well, hey, you know where that RTA drops off?
Oh, yeah, that's true. Well, the smart thing that they would do is extend the tracks right to a stop
100%.
Right outside of there.
I think that'll be their next project.
That's going to have to be something they do. Get a stop right outside of that place because people are not going to want to pay an arm and a leg to park out there. And the hotels they plan on building, can you imagine how much they're going to charge for a room for out-of-town people? It'd be $500-$600 on a Saturday game night.
Absolutely. And you talk to people in Cleveland now that even if you're going to, if you're going to a Guardians playoff game, if you're going to a Cavs playoff game, and they see $50 for parking, I'll go a few streets over and park for $20. You're going to have people that aren't going to pay that price to park.
Right.
It's going to, I mean, you raise parking, dude, to $100 a car or more than that. I mean, that is absolutely ridiculous to park your car for 5 hours.
That's what it's going to be, though, I think, because like I said, the Muni lot as is, and that's where I think the Browns are looking at this from their point of view. Like, look, they don't make hardly any money on parking because they don't own any of those lots.
Who cares?
Down there, right?
I mean, coming from us, I mean, who cares? You're getting money from concessions. You're getting money from jerseys. Does everything have to be? Does there have to be $1 next to every single thing?
Well, in these NFL owners' eyes,
Christ's sake,
yes, it does. That's
unbelievable.
I'm just looking at from their point of view. They probably envy the other owners who all own their NFL owners who all own their own lots right now, where the city of Cleveland makes all that parking money.
Sure, I mean, but let's not act like the Haslams are crying broke here.
No, obviously not.
I mean, there reaches a point where it becomes like ultra level greediness,
right?
Like ultra level.
And I think that's what I'm worried about with this new facility, because you're going to have some of that. And look, I'm a season ticket holder right now, and I know that they raise the prices on us. Not by much last year, but they still did. And
to be fair, they were coming off a playoff appearance.
No, I'm talking going into this year.
Oh,
yeah.
God.
They raised the prices on us, and it wasn't much, but still, it's tough to stomach as a fan when they raise the prices. Coming off a 3-14 season, and when Jimmy Haslam, he's putting up a lot of money for this, and everything out there is going to cost buku bucks. We just talked about that for 5 minutes. The Browns really need the Browns to be good for this project to work.
They have to.
They have to be good because...
Well, so are you saying they have to be good by the time that the stadium comes, or they have to be good while, in that stadium they have to be good?
I think both. And they've shown no ability to do that.
That's where the deep sigh just came from, because I'm thinking, what's the realistic time frame on them actually putting together a competent football team?
Right, because you're thinking about this. Okay, so let's say from a fan's point of view, right? We know when the Browns are good around here, there's nothing more important than just about 99% of the folks, like average every day.
You're seeing Myles Garrett jerseys at Cavs and Indians playoffs games.
Yeah.
Like
you
don't see Cavs jerseys at Browns games. It just doesn't happen.
No, I mean, when the few times we've experienced in our lifetime when the Browns are good, I mean, when they're cooking, I mean, that's all everybody's talking about at work,
and there's
at school, at the bus stop, at the grocery store, waiting for the deli. You're getting a pound of American cheese. You see the Browns game, and that's literally what it is.
Even when the Browns are like 1-2, and it's week 4 or week 5, depending on how early that bye week is, and you still wake up on Sunday morning and there's a chance.
Yeah.
Right? That exciting feeling. When you have that in week like 14 and 15, it's exhilarating.
Yeah.
It's exhilarating. And we typically only get it for the first like 6-7 weeks.
By Halloween, it's over.
Yeah, well, usually by Halloween, we're looking at a 3-5 football team, 2-6 maybe, and hopefully that Halloween game's scheduled on a Thursday night, because that's typically when we'll actually bust out the win. Then we're 3-6, coming off a holiday. You know what? They string a couple of these together, they lose by 20 typically the following week.
Right, exactly. No, and that's why, to go back to this from a business point of view, people right now still go to Browns games because, when you season ticket holders, like I said, it did sting that they raise the ticket prices, but they have to, right? And you look on the NFL grand scale, I think they're still like 26th out of 32 in like cost of season tickets and cost for an average fan to go to a game. That's all going to go by the wayside when they build their new Brook Park Pleasure Palace out here. So if the Browns aren't good on the field,
no one's paying $100 to park.
No one's paying $100 to $120 to park. No one's paying. Do you imagine taking a family of 4 to a game? It'll be an $1,000 expenditure. Easy.
I mean, beginning of the year, absolutely. Even in a week 10, week 12 game, and like we're talking about a 5-7 football team, like anybody going to pay $200 to sit in the nosebleeds? Right,
exactly. And people, and they'll have this beautiful new stadium with nobody in it because people are not. And look, we saw through 1-31 and 4-48 or whatever.
Yeah, it was a ridiculous run.
That people will support this team no matter what. And I think a big part of it is people are scared they're going to leave. But now, that was always because it was still relatively, in the grand scheme of things, affordable to support the Browns endlessly. It's not going to be anymore. So who's going to want to take that disposable income if they stink? Nobody.
Yeah, no.
So looking at the grand scheme of things, with the mayor giving it his blessing and this project really looking like Daryl Ryder, who's been all over it and covered it very in-depthly, as have the Galax from Fox 8, and them both basically saying on their respective platforms, 92.3 and then Fox 8 TV, that they think this is going to be a go now. Like, that's the okay. You got all the politicians to green light you, except Chris Ronayne, who's on an island of his own. You got the politicians to green light you basically now. That's only half your battle. Now the other half of the battle is, your football team still stinks. It better be good, or else this whole project's going to be a failure. Over. So, and talk about losing money. They'll lose money hand over fist because of how much this project's going to cost.
Well, of course, and the taxpayers are already going to be furious that their taxes have gone up. And if, like to your point, Jerome, if there's not a winning product on the football field, like, what is going to make them want to give that any more money?
Right.
Like, there's no...
And it's going to be...
I mean, you're going to have the diehards, like you just said. Like, we go 1-16, I would still probably buy something Browns related because that's just how I am.
Same.
Even though I would be like, this team doesn't deserve another dollar.
I went to the locker room sale after the 3-14 year this year, and I was excited to be there.
Exactly.
So, you're going to have the
diehards.
The Looney Tunes like us.
Yeah.
And these other people.
The Looney Tunes.
Yeah, I mean, we're like the island of misfit toys who just, we blindly do whatever they tell us to do support-wise. But a lot of the general public's going to say, bleep this. I'm not giving all my disposable income. And you're talking 5 years down the road, and we see how inflation's hitting this country right now. And I'm not trying to get political by any means.
Sure.
But things are going to be naturally more expensive. Give it another half decade.
Oh, yeah, of course.
So, I think the Browns, good for them. They seem to have gotten everything they needed to green light this stadium. The other thing for them that will be big now, like I said, half the battle as far as the Browns are concerned. The other part of the battle now is, okay, you got this you're going to have this brand new stadium It's going to cost a fortune. You better be able to get events here. You got to be able to secure Final Fours.
Yeah, you got to get Taylor here.
You got to be able to get Taylor here.
You got to get a Super Bowl here in the next 15 years.
Right. You've got to be able to
By
do
2040, we got to have a Super Bowl.
Absolutely. Like, those are the huge money makers. Like, say what you want. Taylor Swift, when she comes to your town, she makes money for everybody. Every local bar and business.
Where'd that little accent come out? Little Jimmy Haslam.
Yeah. Oh, Jimmy, he gonna be hoping that it's not a swing and a miss like the Deshaun trade.
That's right. Oh, it totally was. Which, speaking of Deshaun, did you see Mary Kay Cabot's report?
Yeah, I don't believe it.
That he's out of the boot, working aggressively to get back out onto the field, and the Browns haven't ruled it out. If that son of a gun is on the field at all, we don't deserve Brook Park.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think he will. I really don't believe it. I think and I know I just alluded to it in a joking fashion, but when the owner, the top dog, the big boss comes out, the Tony Soprano of the Browns comes out and says that it was a hell of a swing and a miss, that means that guy ain't ever going to take the football field again for your team. They can report all they want. And yeah, of course, I mean, I'm sure his camp's telling Mary Kay he has a chance, because what are the Browns telling his camp? Well, they got to tell him it because he's under contract and they got to have him do something.
Because we owe him, like $100 million over the next 2 years?
Right, exactly. So, I mean, from the Browns' point of view, they're going to say, yeah, work your ass off. You have a chance. You have a chance to compete and all this and that. But they behind closed doors, they're not going to actually give him a chance. They got to tell him that, because Deshaun's the type of guy who probably, if you don't tell him he has a chance, he's probably going to go home, lay on the couch, and eat potato chips.
Fine. Get him away from the football team.
But I agree with you. I wish that would be the real case. But in their eyes, they got to keep him working for something. So, yeah, hopefully this project does get concluded. But, yeah, the other thing that I'm interested to see is Justin Bibbs said, like, hell or high water, we'll develop the lakefront. Kevin, our entire lives, we're 28 years old. We've been hearing about them developing the lakefront. There's never been anything there in our life besides the pier, the Science Center, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and the Brown Stadium. And the port. There's nothing there. I really, really am curious to see what Bibbs' big plans are to develop this lakefront.
Yeah, do you have any idea?
No, but I am curious, because without the Brown Stadium being down there, that's multiple acres that place takes up.
Oh, yeah.
So you have so much space down there, like, quote, so much room for activity, you know?
Oh, Step Brothers.
Yeah, quote,
so
Step
much room
Brothers.
for activities.
Right, exactly. Take Step Brothers into a serious note, they do. Once you demolish that thing, there's so much down there. So they haven't really, I mean, I've seen so many renderings of that lakefront, but until I see a shovel in the ground down there, I don't really know what to believe or what to think they'll do.
Yeah, neither do I. I mean, I have zero clue. Because if you're driving, if you're taking the Shoreway or 90, whatever, and or the Shoreway, I should say, I can't imagine, like, what I would turn left and see.
Yeah.
It's always been the mistake by the lake.
Yeah, it's always been there. Like, most of our whole lives since we were 2. And before that, you had Municipal down there. So, like, this is the first time you're going to have this open plot of land down there, really, since 1932, when Municipal was built.
Yeah. I'm interested. Yeah, I am interested. Very interested to see where they're going to go with it, because I don't really have a clue.
Because that's a nice area. I mean, and people have always said this, and I know I sound like a broken record, but if you did it right down there, you could make it an attractive area. You could really make it probably another. Because what's an area, when I come to think of downtown,
any shot, there's another bar scene that goes there.
I don't know, because maybe, but
because we've got West 6th and we've got the Flats already,
and you got East 4th too.
Yeah, so there's no real need for it, but you could probably build, like, I mean, the thing that I would think of that would come right off the bat is you could probably build I mean, I know you have Edgewater right down like literally a half a mile away, but you could probably build a pretty nice park down there. Yeah.
Like lake beachfront. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm curious. Either. Justin Bibbs was quoted as saying, like, hell or high water, we're going to develop that lakefront. So I'm curious to see. All this will obviously keep you updated on, but
well, and like he said, the city of Cleveland has bigger things to worry about than the Cleveland Browns.
Right, and they do.
They do.
They have a pretty big financial problem. I mean, there's a lot going on with the city, and he's right. The city, from his point of view, the city has bigger fish to fry. And in my opinion, all this was a ploy to get the Browns to help you put money towards developing that lakefront, the Haslam's sending some money their way, and demolishing the current Huntington Bank Field. And if they do that, I think the mayor has no qualms, and he'll get what he wanted, and that's money.
Yeah, at the end of the day, that's what they all want.
All right, so that's it for Browns. I mean, they're going through some, organized, not officially even OTAs yet. They're going through like phase 2 or whatever. Nothing really.
Just a bunch of walkthroughs almost.
Yeah, I mean, guys running around in shorts, throwing the football around, and some people are going to go nuts if they see good things happen out there. But
do we know how Shador's been looking?
Well, the media's not really out there right now, so it's hard to say one way or the other. But
breaking news! Breaking NFL news! Colts owner Jim Irsay just passed away.
Jim Irsay
just passed
wow.
away.
You talk about an outspoken owner.
Very outspoken owner.
Wow.
The league's going to miss him, honestly.
Yeah. Well, I think
at least his personality.
Yeah. I mean, he's done some real dumb things, but he's also done some real smart things for the league, too. So, Kevin, bringing this into the studio, breaking news that Jim Irsay's passed away. Wow. Yeah, I mean,
that seemed pretty unexpected. I hadn't heard anything about any health complications.
I know that last time I saw him, he was in a wheelchair, I think. Okay. So maybe he wasn't doing all that well, but I don't think he was expected to he wasn't on hospice or anything.
At least that from. And I feel like we would have heard that somewhere.
Yeah, we would have heard some. Well, condolences to the Irsay family and
absolutely.
The Colts organization, like you said, outspoken guy who certainly. Got what he wanted a lot of times. Other times he had some outlandish things to say, but definitely a guy who will be remembered. He was not a hands-off owner by any means.
No, not at all. Not at all.
No.
And I remember him actually tweeting something crazy, like right before the Colts had actually traded for Trent Richardson from the Browns. He had tweeted something either early that morning or that night about something brewing or whatever. And then obviously that Richardson trade comes to fruition. So he's always been kind of one of those guys to tease things, which always does make it fun. And the league's going to miss his presence for sure.
Absolutely. So shocking stuff going on there. All right. Well, I do have one more football thing that I want to say for odds and ends.
Okay.
So let's move into baseball here. It was a brutal week to say the least, and they salvaged the week today, at least. They had not won in a week. They had not won since last Tuesday.
Five game stretch, was it? Or
yeah,
6?
5 game because they had an off day built in there, and then obviously it just torrentially downpoured in Minnesota for 72 hours straight. The whole 72 hours they were there. But let's start with today's game, game 2, because obviously they finished game 1, the suspended game from Monday. Right. Kevin, I thought Gavin Williams was a true ace today and a stopper and exactly what they needed. Gave you six strong innings, 1 run, I believe 2 hits. He was awesome today, and I didn't want to say it. I was getting close to calling it a must win because look, the way the Tigers are playing, they're the best team in the American League right now. They are hot. They are hotter than a bonfire on the 4th of July. And, I mean, you're going to Comerica for 4 straight now. You cannot go in there on a 6-game slide, obviously already being 6 back in the division if you really want to compete for this thing.
No, I actually agree with you, and I'm one that typically you've given me credit for trying to talk you off the ledge whenever the Tribe go on 3-4 game losing streaks, but you had actually talked me into this being as close to a must-win as we could have this early on in the year.
Memorial Day, yeah,
this early on in the year. And you had given me the exact scenario. Obviously, the Tigers series coming up, they've been the hottest team in the AL Central, the best team in the AL Central this year.
AL in general.
Yeah. AL in general. And definitely needed a win today because you go into Detroit. We're going into Detroit, correct?
Tomorrow.
To Comerica, yeah. I didn't know if they were coming here if we were going there,
but
you go there. You need to have a win or two in that series if you don't win today. And going up against the hottest team in baseball, I wouldn't have felt confident going into that series knowing we were the coldest team in baseball at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. And Tigers, I mean, they're 7-3 in their last 10. I mean, they're 33-17, and I know we had joked about them growing up. Javi Baez's resurgence is a huge piece of it.
They're on pace for like 110 wins.
Him and Spencer Torkelson. I mean, two guys who are just awful.
Former number 1 overall pick, Spencer Torkelson.
Yeah, two guys who are just awful. I mean, I don't even think if you really gave A.J. Hinch or their GM Scott Harris true serum, I don't think they would have thought this kind of year for either of these guys.
Would you have predicted it more so for Javi or Torque?
Probably Torque because he's younger. I thought Javi was toast.
See, I think I would have actually predicted the Javi, but not Torque because we've seen Javi do superstar stuff before.
Yes.
We've never seen Torque do it.
But the only reason I would push back against that is because like the last time it was like almost 5 years since Javi was a true superstar player.
Yeah, and sometimes when the superstar players get their payday and they start fading out, they never actually come back in because they've got that payday.
A la Chris Bryant with the Rockies. That looks like the worst contract in baseball.
Yeah.
So, which is ironic because him and Javi were two key contributors to that World Series team that beat us.
Yeah, that is funny. That's a funny coincidence.
Yeah. No, but yeah, they really needed to win today. The first 6 innings were a brutal watch. They got a bunch of base runners, couldn't bring anybody in. And to actually tie the game, it was a Gabriel Arias bases loaded walk, a Nolan Jones sac fly. And they only get 2 there. Then they have this 2-1 lead. You're really not feeling good about it. Then Carlos Santana absolutely murders one that we were watching together by that point. And then they get a couple attack on the 8th and comfortably with a nice 5-1 win.
Yeah.
And they needed it. I mean,
it's nice that the bats started to get hot at the end of that game.
Yeah, and the good thing was they did in the beginning of game 1 because obviously they're down to their final strike. And Bo, who's kind of been struggling lately, he comes up with this huge 2-strike, 2-run double, just missed a go-ahead 3-run homer by a couple feet. It was the ball was going to break your heart one way or the other because it was like 2 feet below on the wall, but then barely a foot fair up the 19th or however tall that wall is out there. The Great Wall of Minnesota. And nonetheless, and they end up giving up a walk-off. They get walked off in the first, Cade Smith gives it up, and they get walked off by Roger Clemens' kid, Cody Clemens. And like I said, then I really was sitting there. I go, they got to win. Like, they got to win game 2. And I know it sounds nuts this early, but I mean.
With the must-wins, you're saying?
Yeah, but we're getting close to where you don't want to fall out of this thing. And you're 6 back right now off a division lead. And yeah, you're still in the wild card because the American League in a whole is very mediocre this year. But I think, obviously they still want to compete for this division. And the way Minnesota, Kansas City, and Detroit are all playing, they were getting a little lackluster there. You lose that last game of the Brewers, which was a 3-3 homestand between the Phillies and Brewers. And then you go see your old buddy Tito, and he kicks your ass all weekend long. And then the first game in Minnesota obviously gets rained and don't play yesterday, come back today. So they've had a weird schedule too with the weather in Minnesota with the 72 hours straight of rain. But now to Comerica, and this is like
4-game series too.
This is probably as big of a series as you could have
this early. And
it's right before it's at that first benchmark of the season because
Memorial Day.
Yep, people consider the 3 unofficial benchmarks of baseball: Memorial Day, 4th of July, and Labor Day. So, is it general?
And what are the benchmarks again? Like Memorial Day is like this is typically where your team is at, and then what are the other?
Yeah, so typically Memorial Day. Okay, you're a little bit past like a quarter of the year. You're like probably around 50 games.
Yeah, right.
So you're sitting there, and Memorial Day kind of tells you, okay, who's going to be in it by Memorial Day, you already have they sucks. And I'm saying about teams.
Sure.
Like the Rockies, as bad as the White Sox were last year, somehow the Rockies might be 10 games worse they're on pace to be. I mean, that is historically awful. I mean, it is truly a shame that there's a one team in the league that uncompetitive. The White Sox they blow again. I mean, the Orioles is probably the biggest shocker.
Absolutely.
They're pretty awful.
They actually would have been if you would have asked me before, they probably would have been my pick to come out of the AL to represent the AL in the World Series this year.
I don't even know if I want to say this. on podcasts because people were going to say, I'm going to stop listening. This guy doesn't know anything. I picked the Orioles to go to the World Series this year.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I would have said the Orioles would have been representing the AL in the World Series.
I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, so Cleveland, I think, I heard a national guy say this about them yesterday. Scott Braun, who I like a lot. I think he's a pretty good baseball mind. And he said, he goes, where Cleveland's at right now, he goes, they'll probably continue being right around 5 to 7 above 500. He goes, I don't know if they'll go on a big tear. He goes, but I would imagine they'll probably be in a position where they're not going to sell the deadline. He goes, they're probably going to be in a position where they won't make a major splash move, but like a slight buy is what he thinks they're going to end up doing. So
okay, so he thinks we might add like an average middle infielder or something.
Right, something like that. And that's probably what I think too. The other news out of Guardians land that I think made fans very disappointed is we were hoping the way he was hitting down there, maybe we'll see him. Travis Bazzana out 8 to 10 weeks with an oblique. Oblique and baseball players, it just never seems to go well together. So that's tough. That was very disappointing news.
Yeah, I think, what was it, Jack Caglione?
Yeah,
for the Royals is just like lighting it up. And he's the prospect, if I remember correctly, that was like the pitcher and the first baseman / outfield. Like he
Florida,
was the
yes.
Yeah, he was one of the 2 or 3 guys I was looking at one, which kind of sucks. Of course, that's the Royals that he's with now, and then not that it really means like he's going to be a stud. But
we had Josh Naylor at the time. Nick Kurtz is hitting the ball pretty good for the A's. I guess the nameless A's because they don't have a city anymore. Nick Kurtz is hitting the ball well for them. I don't really know how the first baseman from Georgia is doing.
Talking about Condon?
Yes.
Well, he's with the Rockies.
Yeah, so probably not well. I mean, I don't know if anything goes right in that organization.
I think he's more so of a corner outfielder, isn't he?
Yeah.
I know he's kind of one of those David Fry's, excluding catchers, but he plays the corners, like first, third, left, right.
And great transition there, because speaking of that, David Fry playing for the Rubber Ducks, so that's good. That'll be a nice reinforcement bat to get in the lineup. Oh, my God, that'd be
unbelievable.
Lane Thomas playing for the Clippers right now, so you get those 2 bats back.
Do we know if when Fry's back, can he catch it all?
No, he cannot do anything besides DH this year because he had the Tommy John, so he's simply going to just be able to hit.
So we basically got to pick 2 out of Manzardo, Santana, and Fry to play.
Yeah,
so it's going to be basically Fry and Manzardo.
I would imagine they're still going to play Santana.
Platooning. I meant like platooning.
Yeah.
I was looking for the word. But I'm going to say Fry and Manzardo are probably going to be platooning again.
Well, I would imagine, look, Manzardo's been super productive when he's got his hits, the key opportunities, but his average isn't, and he's still striking out a lot. And look, I know a lot of people were really upset about the Naylor trade. Santana is doing what he always does, though. Look, the OPS is at 700, hit 2 home runs, not in one game today, but 1 in each game. He's hitting around 230. The average is never going to be glorious. We know that with him. We've been watching the guy for a decade and a half, but he's still walking. There
were some years he was in the 260s and 70s, were there not?
Oh, yeah, for sure. But I don't think at 39 he's going to pull that out of his back pocket again.
Okay, all right.
But look, I get people were upset about the Naylor trade. I get it, but Santana's doing all right. And Manzardo, again, the average is not there, but the production, the home runs and the RBIs and the OPS is. So,
and when he gets the outs, and we've been saying this about Manzardo for the last 2 years, like they are loud outs.
Yeah.
When he cracks it off the
bat.
Now
I will say, personally, watching the game today, he had a brutal game. But everybody does, right?
Sure.
And Arias has come back to earth a little bit, but Schneemann still consistently seems to be hitting the ball, and good for him. Good for Daniel Schneemann.
Absolutely.
33rd round pick. I don't think anybody ever thought he'd even make the big leagues, let alone be an average player.
I'm starting to rethink, kind of going back to what we were talking about, if the Tribe were to make any move at the deadline. I'm starting to think if Angel Martinez and Daniel Schneemann are going to be this consistent, if that's your middle infielder, you get Lane Thomas back in center. Maybe it's another outfielder that we're looking at gaining because we still got no answer in right field. And I do want to apologize to the fan base out there, but I did not see this bad of a first third of the year coming for Nolan Jones.
Yeah, me neither. But as one of our good buddies, Philly Ann, said to me today, when the Colorado Rockies dump you, you know there's got to be something fundamentally wrong with the player. because they are like the worst organization in probably pro sports right now, the way they're sitting. And so it's interesting. Nolan did have the go-ahead sac fly today, ironically, but you're right. There's no answer in right field. And I think it's very interesting that C.J. Kafis spent most of his minor league career as a first baseman, now has been moved to right field for the Clippers as of a couple of weeks ago. I think Kafis could be coming soon. I mean, why else would they move him to right field?
Probably for to move him up to play right field, I would imagine.
So
try to stump me on that one.
No, I wasn't. I was just. It was a rhetorical question of nature, but I don't see any way that Kafis isn't up here soon. I would imagine probably John Kenzie goes down because for whatever reason they seem to be giving him the least amount of bats over Nolan. Not that he's like done anything great, but I don't know. It's weird to me. I still just have more hope and potential for John Kenzie than I do Nolan.
Well, it's probably you're saying that Nolan's getting more at bats than Noel is what you said.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you right now, it's probably just because of the lefty-righty matchups, and we're going to be facing more righties. That's just kind of how it works.
Right. So I'm curious to see. Like I said, Lane will be back. David Fry will be back, and Kafis, I imagine, will be getting his call to the show soon. So it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, hopefully in the next week and a half.
But obviously, big series this weekend that we'll be all over. We'll keeping an eye on that, seeing how they do. It's so weird to say because it's been a long time since we go see the first place best team in the American League, Tigers. Man, I mean, they haven't been this good since God, I mean, you're talking.
I mean, Miggy's first couple years there.
Miggy and Maglio and Vmart and
so we're talking late 2000s, maybe early 2010s.
Yeah,
early
I think they made
2010.
that World Series 2012. Brandon Inge, he was a big part of those
Brandon
teams.
Inge was a great player. Yeah. I liked Brandon Inge actually.
So, it would be interesting to see how they go and face, I guess, Javi Baez and Spencer Torkelson's Tigers.
Yeah,
which
exactly.
is weird to say, but that's the way it is. All right, let's wrap up the show with odds and ends. We shouted them out both last week. Kevin, we were at the Cleveland Marathon on Sunday.
Yes.
Pretty cool stuff. My brother completed the half marathon
in under 2 hours.
Yes, which was
great job.
What he did, and your brother completed the full marathon in, I believe, 3:35.
Yep, 3:35, the full.
So congratulations to both of them. As Monks, we knew many other runners out there.
Yeah.
And I don't want to start listing the rest of them by names. Only family members get their names
shout out. Yeah, because we knew a few of them out there.
We knew quite a lot of them. We don't want to miss anybody or forget anybody. But congratulations to everybody who did it. It was a great atmosphere to be down there. We were right on the finish line. Maybe what'd you say, about 50 feet shy?
I'd say we were about, probably, yeah. I'd say about that, 20, 30 yards.
Right next to where the MC booth was.
Yep.
So we had a good shot there. We also
Anthony Lima called us out.
Yeah, Anthony Lima gave us a shout out for bringing the energy down there. But it was a great atmosphere, great environment.
It was my first marathon I'd been to. I know this was your second in as many weeks.
Yeah, second in 3 weeks.
Yeah. Second in 3 weeks, yeah. So not your first rodeo, but it was a cool, it was a very cool atmosphere to be down there and to see, honestly, all the support. There were people on every street corner cheering on the runners. I know we got to see each of our brothers by the Browns stadium, and then we got to see them at the finish line as well, and that was a lot of fun. It was a good time.
A lot of fun. So shout out to everybody who completed and competed in that. What an accomplishment. I know some people were probably displeased with their times or whatever, but just finishing that thing is remarkable.
It's unbelievable. And there were a couple people who were having trouble on that last leg, and you could tell the crowd's energy were able to bring them cross the finish line.
Yep.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So really cool atmosphere down there. And my brother said, as you said, the runners support. My brother said when they were out in Tremont, he did not expect that many folks to be out there, and there were folks everywhere really bringing home, giving the runners that support.
So cool.
Needed. Awesome stuff. Another odds and ends thing for you, Kevin. The NFL is going to let their players do flag football in the Olympics. Yeah. Do you imagine anybody really doing this? Any of the big names or teams?
I think some of them, for sure. What were you about to say about teams?
I was going to say, just like how we see with the World Baseball Classic, oftentimes the players are really excited, but the teams aren't so thrilled about it because they want those guys for the year.
Yeah, I get it. But at the same time, it's not like they're going to be tackling each other out there. But a lot of those season-ending injuries are the non-contact
Yep.
injuries. So I get the worriness behind it, but I mean these are guys that are practicing every day, running routes every
Right.
day. You know, it's one of those things. They're going to be running those routes, doing these same exact drills, whether they're at practice or doing it in the Olympics. It's just those injuries are freak accidents. You
Yeah,
know?
absolutely. And I mean, I think once you saw, the classic case of Edwin Diaz breaking his leg in the World Baseball Classic, and I think when he was out for the Mets for the year, teams are just naturally all across sports a little leery of it. But it'll be interesting to see because we see it with baseball and we see it with hockey, and we see it with basketball. This is the first time football is really going to have their guys representing the country.
Yeah.
So
it'll
be
be
very
interesting. It'll be interesting to see how many countries actually have representation.
How many countries have flag football teams? Yeah. Be very curious to see. So, and then a couple other things. Baseball managers going by the way, we forgot to mention last week, Derek Shelton was fired in Pittsburgh. They're off to a terrible start, terrible
Horrible
season. Baltimore Orioles fired Brandon Hyde. As the Orioles, we said most shocking bad team in baseball. And then Colorado fired Bud Black, who's a great baseball man, known as a great manager, managed old Padres teams to much success. I think Bud Black, in a bizarre, sicko world, was probably super relieved to be fired because I don't think anybody wants their name attached to a team that I think has 8 wins and we're 5 days shy of Memorial Day. So
he probably was a little bit relieved. He's like, thank God I don't got to watch this crap every day.
So those are your odds and ends for the week. I think that's it.
Yeah, I think so.
All right. Well, I'll let you wrap this thing up. Tell the audience what they want
Follow
to do.
us on Twitter or X, Instagram, TikTok at CLE Sports Realm. Engage with us on YouTube. We're glad that you're watching. We're glad that you're listening.
Thanks for all the comments. We've been getting a lot of comments on our platforms lately.
Yeah.
So we appreciate everybody who is commenting, everybody who is interacting, and we appreciate it, and we hope you continue to do so.
Yeah, absolutely. And for the entire Cleveland Sports Realm group, I'm Kevin. That's Jerome. He did a fantastic job this evening. Thank you. Felt like you ran a great show today.
Well, I try,
Yeah, you do try and you do a good job.
Well, I think you do a good job too. All right.
Thanks, buddy. Eric behind the camera. Eric, thanks for all that you do. You did a great job producing. And we're out of here, huh? Go Tribe.
We'll see you next week.